In this video, we're going to take a look at intercepts, both x and y intercepts, and we're going to graph vertical and horizontal lines. When we refer to intercepts, we know we're talking about where a line intersects an axis. We're dealing with linear equations, so we're talking about the point where the line crosses the x-axis when we refer to the x-intercept. And when we mention the y-intercept, we're talking about where the line crosses the y-axis. Now we have some information here that says, okay, any point on the x-axis has a y-coordinate of 0. We've already talked about that. So this x-intercept always has a y-coordinate of 0. On the y-axis, all points have an x-coordinate of 0, so this y-intercept always has an x-coordinate of 0. You'll need to write those as ordered pairs. Even though you're thinking it crosses at a certain number, you need to get used to writing that as an ordered pair. Alright, let's take a look at one of these lines and identify the x and y intercepts. This line, we can tell that it crosses the x-axis. It looks like it crosses at 4. There's a point there, so we know it is 4. It crosses the y-axis at 4. Okay. The biggest mistake students make is writing the ordered pair incorrectly or identifying the intercept incorrectly. So if it's on the y-axis, it's my y-intercept. It has an x-coordinate of 0, a y-coordinate of 4. And that is my y-intercept. If it's on the x-axis, it's my x-intercept. It has an x-coordinate of 4, a y-coordinate of 0. And that's my x-intercept. Those are pretty basic things, but again, those are the things that people make mistakes on. They know what they're supposed to be doing. They even know how to do it. They just write it down incorrectly. So be careful with those things. Alright, if we don't have the graph to look at, how do we determine the x and y intercepts? Well, we use that information we just talked about. Since the y-coordinate must be 0, we substitute in 0 for the y variable and then solve for the corresponding x. In the equation that we're given here, 3x plus y equals 6. If we let y equal 0, then we get 3x is equal to 6, x is equal to 2. So we know that the x-intercept is the pair, ordered pair, where x is 2, y is 0. So it's really pretty simple. You're just plugging in a value and solving for the corresponding value. One thing that's different is we haven't plugged in any values for y until this point, but if we're getting the x-intercept, we have to plug the 0 in for the y. When we get the y-intercept, we're plugging in 0 for x. In this same equation, now we're plugging in the 0 for the x, and we get 3 times 0 is 0, plus y equals 6, so y is equal to 6. So my y-intercept is the ordered pair where x is 0, y is 6. Alright, let's work through one together. If we look at this line, we've got an equation 2x plus 3y equals 12. To solve for the x-intercept, we need to let y equal 0. So we're going to write our equation as 2x plus 3 times 0 instead of 3y is equal to 12. 3 times 0 is 0, so we're left with 2x equals 12. We solve it just like we've been solving equations. Divide both sides by 2, and we get x is equal to 6. So the x-intercept is the point with an x-coordinate of 6, a y-coordinate of 0. Now to get the y-intercept, we do the same thing, except now we're letting x equal 0. So we get 2 times 0 plus 3 times y is equal to 12. 2 times 0 is 0. We're left with 3y equals 12. Divide both sides by 3, and we get y is equal to 4. So our y-intercept is the ordered pair with an x-coordinate of 0, a y-coordinate of 4. Alright, let's switch over and take a look at vertical and horizontal lines. A vertical line You know what that is. It goes up and down. It's basically parallel to the y-axis. It's only passing through the x-axis at one point. But if you think about that point, it's significant because it's a vertical line. Every point on that line has the same x-coordinate. So the equation of a vertical line is just x equals a number, like x equals 3 or x equals 2. And that number is where it passes through the x-axis. So if we look at the graph of an equation x equals 3, we know it's a vertical line through the x-axis, because that's the variable we have, at 3. If we have an equation x equals negative 8, it's a vertical line through the x-axis at negative 8. The point of intersection at the axis is negative 8, 0, okay, because that's an ordered pair. But that's just a little trick that I use to say, okay, I don't sit there and worry about which one's horizontal. I need to memorize this. I just think about, okay, what's my equation? X equals negative 8. It's a line through the x-axis, so that means it is vertical at negative 8. Let's take a look at one. All right, in this case, we're graphing a line. The equation is x equals 3. So it's a line that goes through the x-axis at 3. And the line's already been drawn here, but I want to show you a couple of things. If you want to put a point at 3 on the x-axis, you can do that. But just remember to draw the line. So many times people on the final exam or on a test put a point on there at 3 and then they don't draw a line, and that's incorrect. I have to draw the line because it's all values, all points that have an x value of 3 are solutions. You can even make you a table of values if it helps you to say, okay, x equals 3. I know it's always 3 no matter what value y is, so I can put in any value here. I can say, alright, it doesn't matter if y is negative 5, if it's 0, if it's positive 5. No matter what it is, x is always 3. I know that from my equation. That's what it tells me. But then I could plot those points if I wanted to and say, okay, then that helps me remember to draw a line. So some people always do a table of values and then they get 3 points and draw their line. Like I said, I use a little trick where I say, okay, here I've got just an x. I don't have a y. So I know it's a line through the x-axis at 3. All right. Let's take a look at another one. Horizontal lines. A horizontal line, basically, same steps we just went through, but this one's horizontal. It runs across and is parallel to the x-axis. It's passing through the y-axis at one point, and guess what? Its equation is y equals a number. So if we have something like y equals 5, it's a line that goes through the y-axis at 5. So it's a horizontal line. It intersects the y-axis at the point where x is 0, y is 5. The graph of the equation y equals negative 2 is a line through the y-axis at negative 2. It's a horizontal line. Alright, so if we have y equals negative 6, let's take a look at this one again. We know that that is a line through the y-axis, because remember my variable is y, so it's going through the y-axis at negative 6. So on my graph, I come down here and I put a point on the y-axis at negative 6. But remember, I'm not done yet. So if I go over and I just pick a point anywhere and I put another point at negative 6, and let's go over here and put one more. And then I want to draw my line. So I line up my ruler and I draw my line, and I'm a little below my points, but it should be through the points at negative 6. Okay, so that's how I graph a horizontal line. Again, I use that same trick of what's my variable? I only have one variable. I don't have an x, so I know, okay, this is either horizontal or vertical. What is my variable? It's y. So this line goes through the y-axis at this number, which is negative 6. Alright, when you complete the homework in this lesson, you will understand more of the vocabulary of graphing. You'll hopefully have a good understanding of what an x-intercept and a y-intercept is. You'll be able to determine the x and y-intercepts of a linear equation by either looking at the graph or solving for that with the equation. And you'll be able to graph horizontal and vertical lines correctly.